Hello YouTube, this is AugustusLarch. This is my continuing series. I feel I have a divine calling to destroy religion. And I'm going to read to you my mission statement. I used to be a member of a Christian church. And I sent a letter to them. I won't reveal the names, but here's the letter right here. You can't see anything. They sent me a letter to find out if I was a member of the church and if to set up a tithing, set up like how much offering I could give them. And I hadn't shown up for years in the church, really, so I was still on the church roll, so they sent me a letter. And I sent them this letter back. A testimonial of a recovered Christian. Yes. Bound by good ethics and rigid morals, I cannot join in the practice of worshiping the God as portrayed in the Holy Bible. I am nowhere near the boundary that encloses those hearts and minds devoted to such a God. I have been separated by Providence to personally ruminate on the mission statement behind Christianity for quite some time. My heart and mind have come to understand that the core doctrine behind Christianity is flawed to the degree that the belief in such doctrine causes severe and lasting damage to the collective and individual psyche of those devoted to them. Anyone competent in 101 psychology can readily see that the God of the Holy Bible has critical character flaws. Despite the constant positive public relations campaign, such a person is objectively apparent to be a false God. Far from his proprietary claim of perfection, this God displays a history of demanding dedicated praise and exacting tributes. This God also suffers from basic delusions that arise in clear contradictions of that God's philosophy within the text of the Holy Bible. Within that text, the message is delivered that this God is infallible and responsible for everything good. But not so many pages away, the message displays that this supposed divine entity is also a jealous God. Is not envy a critical character flaw? Yet this God embraces it. And if this God has no equal, then how could such envy ever gain purchase of his heart? Could this God be suffering from delusions as well? The God of the Holy Bible in wide publication today consistently displays the behavior of a person with a much flawed sensibility. If a regular person as portrayed as God in the Holy Bible were to act in a similar manner today, that person would be easily seen as the boastful, officious, deluded, and demanding person that he truly is. Such a person is no one to craft a good example of what kind of person to be. It is no surprise that such a flawed character would also come along with doctrine that is equally flawed. This doctrine generates an environment of pendulous drama with an integral ultimatum of Gothic design that forces any devotees by fear and reward. Such tactics are well known by those who study mind control. Confidence men, cult leaders, and other such demagogues wield the same techniques to exact blind devotion from their subjects. The Christian church is no different. The message reads, "If you do not believe in what we have to say, you are certain to go to hell and be punished for all eternity. But if you do believe, you will go to heaven and be rewarded for all eternity." Such plurality in sentiments displayed in such pronouncements is analogous with the tactics of a common bully, not an all-powerful deity. To the doctrine in force within the Christian religion, Lutherans like to think that their doctrine is more refined than Roman Catholics. Lutherans cling to the notion that they are the only real Christians, as justified by faith. But they have fallen into a trap. Justification by faith states that one must only believe that Jesus Christ died for their sins, and those sins are forgiven. Let us explore what results when a person invites this idea of justification into their hearts. Some individuals of naturally pious nature are unaffected by the design of such doctrine. Such pious persons are just looking for validation of how they already are. But others use the doctrine of justification by faith as a license to engage and sustain an evil they would otherwise think twice about. That built-in rationalization of justification always gives them a pass in their own heart and mind to do anything they desire, no matter how damaging to themselves or the community. After all, they will always be sinners anyway. And all that is needed to fix things is to continue to believe that no matter what they do or don't do, that they will always be forgiven only if they believe. In this manner, the doctrine of justification by faith perpetuates a flawed and harmful mentality by most of those devoted to it. For the person who knows the value of good ethics and rigid morals to the human individual and the community of humanity, they can easily see that the delusion of forgetting about such values and leaving such important work to some distant, robed figure in the clouds above, who has already taken care of things in that regard for them. It's dangerous. Here's a rundown of what Christianity teaches. First of all, know that you are already a sinner before you were born, and there's nothing you can do that can be done about it because of something that happened so long ago that it cannot be measured exactly. Secondly, the only way out of such a mess is to regard yourself as a sheep, one of the dumbest animals known, and fall on your knees before a shepherd god borrowed from many religions that predate Christianity. Thirdly, in return for this devotion, one can escape a supposed horrible eternal punishment and after death be rewarded for all eternity. And while awaiting death, pay no mind to anything really important because after all, that's God's work. As a born sinner, you're better off to fall in line behind whatever the Church of the Shepherd God says. This Church of the Shepherd God speaks through a cadre of officials that read from a single compilation of Scripture that is somewhat worshipped in its own right, and was originally compiled and later revised by power-hungry monarchs in antiquity, that speaks a harmful message to the natural, good, and clear understanding of what it is to be human. The truth of the matter is that people on this planet need to take responsibility for themselves, and not shift the responsibility to someone they won't meet until after they die. I am convinced that the world will be a much better place without religion of any kind. Instead, people should adhere to a mode of operation that is ethically sound in all regards and guided by constant personal responsibility. I have already engaged in such a mode of operation. My sentiments and actions are governed by my own heart and mind. In this way, I have come to understand the value of adhering oneself to a set of morals that is conducive to the smooth operations of everyday life for the individual and the community of humanity. With Christianity, I see a lot of people ducking all personal responsibility to fall back on a deity that is intangible in this world to an undiluted mind. I cannot be a part of such a flawed philosophy. Not only will I not be a member of your or any church, I will do everything in my power to tirelessly advocate that Christianity is a horrible instrument of mass mind control that strives to keep humanity in spiritual stagnation and allows dangerous harm to its charges to continue unabated. I close with a prayer. May the true God that created the universe grant us with the strength of mind to be patient, courageous, and steadfast, despite opposition, difficulty, or adversity, to also bestow on us the mercy to be conscious of distress, the desire to quell envy, and to hold a benevolent concern for others, that those others might hold a genuine concern for us, and to value raw virtue and leave disinclinations behind to work on real problems that face humanity. This is AugustusLarch. I'm sharing with you a little bit of insight that I've gathered, and hopefully you take it to heart. This is AugustusLarch.